My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day. Waiting for a long time.
U.S. President Donald Trump's latest tariffs have taken effect around the globe.
As President Trump's new tariffs officially take effect, upending the global trading system.
In the summer of 2025, the world was on fire and one man held the match. But this wasn't a war fought with soldiers or bombs. It was a war fought with numbers on a page, and everyone was asking the same question. Why is he doing this?
Some said it was madness, others an act of political suicide. But the truth is far more calculated. This isn't about chaos, it's about a single audacious goal: to shatter the global system and rebuild it in his image. And to understand how he plans to do it, you have to understand the terrifying power he already commands. So how does one nation prepare to fight the entire planet? Do you build more tanks? More jets? The terrifying answer is, you don't have to. The battlefield was already built for you, by geography itself. America is a continental fortress, and its walls were forged by nature. To the east, the Atlantic. To the west, the Pacific. These aren't just bodies of water. They are the largest moats in human history. Any nation wishing to invade the U.S. mainland must first cross thousands of miles of open ocean, directly into the jaws of the undisputed master of the seas, the U.S. Navy. Now, you might have heard that China has the world's largest navy. And by one single metric, the number of hulls, that's true. Around 370 ships to America's 295. But that number is a dangerous illusion. In the real world, wars are won with tonnage and firepower. The U.S. Navy's total fleet displacement is over 4 million tons. China's is less than 3 million. That's the difference between a fleet of coastal vessels and a fleet of 11 nuclear-powered global supercarriers. Nothing else in the world comes close. And this fleet is protected by a shield of approximately 90 Aegis-equipped warships, with over 50 of them being upgraded for ballistic missile defense. This geographic isolation grants one crucial, almost unfair advantage. America's homeland remains untouched by major conflict. It is a strategic upper hand that cannot be bought, a foundation of power built by geography itself. But a fortress is only as good as its reputation. So you have the perfect fortress. But that's not enough. You need a reputation. A reputation so brutal, so absolute, that it makes your enemies think twice before they even consider knocking on your door. So how did America build that kind of fear? By responding to a single attack with a level of force the world had never seen and has never forgotten. In the 1930s, the Empire of Japan was a terrifying military power. It carved a brutal path through Asia, occupying Korea. They saw the U.S. Pacific Fleet as the only obstacle to their total domination. On December 7, 1941, they decided to remove that obstacle. The attack on Pearl Harbor was a catastrophic strategic blunder. They had awakened a power they did not understand. The sleeping giant America was not just a nation, it was an industrial volcano. During World War II, the U.S. produced over 325,000 combat aircraft. Japan produced just 76,000. The counterattack was relentless. The war culminated in the most terrifying display of power the world had ever seen. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. 2 bombs, 2 cities erased from existence. The war was over. For Japan, it was a humiliating defeat. Their empire crumbled and they lost everything, including their colonial hold over Korea. For South Korea, this moment was liberation. From the ashes of occupation, a new nation was born. Backed by its new powerful American ally, South Korea transformed into a global powerhouse, a leader in technology, a cultural phenomenon, and a top-tier military force. A testament to the new world order America built. An order built on a simple, brutal lesson. Do not strike America at home. The response will be total, and it will be unforgiving.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth.
President Trump has ordered 2 nuclear submarines he positioned in regions near Russia.
That was August 1st, 2025. A threat made in the 21st century. But this story begins 50 years earlier, when the world lived under the shadow of 2 titans, the USA and the USSR, an equal balance of power, locked in a terrifying nuclear stalemate, or so we thought. Because what if that entire balance was a lie? What if one giant was growing stronger every day, while the other was rotting from the inside out? On the surface, their power seemed balanced, but beneath it, The two systems were on vastly different trajectories. America's economy boomed, the Soviet economy stagnated. When the Berlin Wall fell, the true gap was revealed. The Soviet Union wasn't a competitor, it was a hollow shell. Today, that gap has become a chasm, and the proof is written in the blood-soaked fields of Ukraine. The modern Russian military was meant to be the heir to the mighty Soviet army. Instead, the world watched in shock as its forces were decimated. By mid-2025, Russian casualties were projected to approach 1 million. Ancient tanks, pulled from storage, obliterated by cheap drones. The once feared military machine stalled, then broke. This wasn't a fair fight. It was an autopsy. It revealed an army crippled by corruption, with no ability to adapt.
And who exposed this weakness to the world? America did, without ever firing a shot. The Javelins, the HIMARS, the Patriots. This was a proxy war that demonstrated a terrifying truth. America can cripple one of its greatest rivals without losing a single American soldier. Which brings us back to today. Back to those nuclear submarines silently patrolling Russia's coast. The Cold War never ended in a truce. It ended in a knockout. And in 2025, America is simply walking over to the cornered opponent to make sure he never gets up again. So, you have an untouchable fortress, a brutal reputation, and your only real rival is on the ropes. How do you control the world without firing another shot? You don't aim for their armies. You aim for their wallets, with a weapon that's in every bank, in every country on earth, the US dollar. This is the exorbitant privilege. The US dollar accounts for 58% of all global foreign exchange reserves. This gives Washington the power to cut entire nations off from the international financial system. And the 2025 trade war showed America was willing to use this weapon on everyone. The European Union was threatened with tariffs as high as 50%. To avoid it, they were forced into a deal. They agreed to a 15% baseline tariff, and in exchange they committed to purchasing $750 billion of American energy. It was a rebalancing of trade conducted entirely on U.S. terms. Even its closest ally, Canada, was not spared. A 35% tariff was enacted. The official reason? The flow of fentanyl across the border. But President Trump publicly linked it to Canada's foreign policy and his complaints about farm tariffs. It sent a chilling message.
In this new era, there are no permanent friends. There are only American interests. The economic pressure campaign is the first stage of any modern American conflict. But when that doesn't work, America turns to its ghosts.
But what happens when a country refuses to bow to economic pressure?
What do you do when they hide their most valuable secrets deep inside a mountain? You can't send an army, so you send a ghost. Imagine a moonless night over the mountains of Iran. A single silent shadow cuts through the darkness. This is the B-2 Spirit, a stealth bomber with an unrefueled range of over 6,000 nautical miles. Its destination? The Fordow Fuel Enrichment Plant, the heart of Iran's nuclear program, buried 80 meters deep inside a mountain, impervious to most conventional weapons. But the B-2 is not carrying conventional weapons. It carries the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb. The B-2 is the only aircraft on Earth capable of delivering it. In an 18-hour mission, it can fly from its base in Missouri, cross the globe undetected, and strike its target. No one would see it come. No one would see it leave. This isn't a theoretical capability. It is a proven, terrifying reality. This is the power that backs up the sanctions, the fist inside the economic glove. It's the constant, unspoken threat that allows America to dictate terms. It is the reason why a direct war with the United States is considered suicide. Because you are not just fighting an army, you are fighting a ghost that can strike from anywhere. And it is a ghost that can reach into your most secure facilities and tear out their heart.
Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
This leaves one final glaring weakness. In a war against the world, America would be outnumbered by its own friends. So how could it possibly defeat its closest allies? The chilling answer is, it doesn't have to. America has a secret weapon against its own allies, the alliances themselves. Consider South Korea, a powerful nation, but it lives under the constant threat of North Korea and China. The only thing keeping that fragile peace is the presence of 28,500 American troops. This force is more than just soldiers. It is the core of the U.S. Republic of Korea Combined Forces Command, a tripwire that guarantees automatic and immediate U.S. involvement in any conflict. If the U.S. decided to withdraw those troops to bring them home for a global war, the balance of power in East Asia would shatter overnight. South Korea would be left dangerously exposed. The same scenario would play out in Europe with NATO, in the Middle East with the Fifth Fleet. This is the paradox of American power. Its global military presence is both a source of stability and a point of leverage. By threatening to withdraw, the U.S. can force its allies' hands. It can make them choose between their own security and defying American policy. In a war against the world, the U.S. doesn't need to defeat its allies on the battlefield. It simply needs to leave. The resulting chaos would neutralize them as a threat far more effectively than any invasion. It is the ultimate checkmate, a victory achieved by simply walking off the board.
Billions in revenue for the government, thousands in new costs for its citizens. It forces you to ask, who is this war really for? Before we can answer, we must agree on one simple rule. Nuclear weapons are off the table. Because in a nuclear war, there are no winners, no analysis, only ghosts. With that nightmare set aside, the evidence for America's conventional power seems overwhelming. Its geography makes it an impenetrable fortress. Its economy is a weapon. Its military operates on a level that no other country can comprehend. But a war isn't just a contest of strength, it's a contest of wills. And in a conflict this large, the very definition of victory changes depending on where you stand. For a challenger, like China or Russia, victory is simple. Just don't lose. Survive America's first punch, achieve your primary goal, and prove to the world that the giant can be made to bleed. That in itself is a win that changes the global balance of power forever. But for the giant, for America, the burden is far greater. It doesn't just need to not lose, it must win. Decisively, absolutely. Anything less, a bloody stalemate, a Pyrrhic victory, is a catastrophic defeat. It proves their invincibility is a myth, and this is the ultimate paradox. Whether the weapons are tariffs that raise the price of food, or missiles that turn homes to rubble, the cost is always paid in the same currency, the lives and prosperity of ordinary people. There are no true winners in a world war. There is only damage. Which forces us to ask the final, most important question. America may be fighting to win, but a victory, for what? And for whom?